I appreciate all of you being here and learning, and we're excited to give you an opportunity. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our first, I'm not going to call it a break. It's almost like a working break, but it's going to allow you to kind of come into your creative element, because your role, all of the opportunity that you now know, great. But now it's like, let's start going and talking about social media, because that's what you're going to be doing. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do something called a brand ambassador post. So I'm sure you're familiar with companies that do, these types of posts. I know, Izzy, you probably do this for your boutique stuff. So you have like a brand ambassador type of post. So these are some examples. Okay. And then we're going to either I'll send all these examples to you. You could just steal them or you can come up with your own. Either way, we're totally indifferent. So you could do something like this. You tag at Bay Area Game Changers. So that's us on Instagram. So you always want to tag us. So that way, if someone is interested, it directs them to our page. Okay. So something that's simple, real simple, $15 starting pay, work from home, flexible schedule, resume experience, steady income. That's real simple. You could make something like that. You could use something like that. Now, these mojos have been really popular. So you could do something like this. Music behind it, TikTok. And you would put like, message me or DM me, something like that. You could do something like this. Work from home, interview training from home, message for details. And then they'll just message you, something like that. Music behind it. This is what we're using right now for the holidays. So semester break work, $15 starting pay, work from home, flexible schedules, 1 to 5 week work program, secure spring part-time semester work, flstudentwork.com. So you could use something like this, semester break work, same thing. So if you wanted to just use one of these mojos, perfect. We already have that set up for you. You could just use ours and we have it set up. But your own content typically will get the best results. But if you want to do something of your own, this is what some people have done in the past. Like, hey guys, my new job has a few openings. So if you're interested, swipe up. That would be like a Snapchat type of thing, work remote, boost your resume, something along these lines. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn on some music. I'm going to post all of those into the WhatsApp chat. So you could either take those or make your own. I'm going to give you 7 minutes for this. Okay. So 7 minutes. If you get done early, cool, grab a snack, use a restroom, grab a drink. We're going to start back up at 11. Okay. But what you're going to do right now, you're going to take 7 minutes, either take our content or put your own. And we want you to just put that up on whatever media sources you use. So if you use TikTok, put one on TikTok. If you use Instagram, put one on Instagram. If you use Snapchat, put one on Snapchat. If you use Facebook, put one on Facebook. You're just going to put it on your story, not your timeline, just a story post for right now, like a story post, put it up there. You're not going to respond to anyone. If anyone views it or if anyone does swipe up, we're going to teach you how to do all that later on. But for right now, we're just going to put the advertising out there. Okay. So we got 6 minutes now. Go ahead, have some fun. I'll post those into the WhatsApp chat so that way you can have some examples for yourself. Cool. So those are all sent. I just sent them into WhatsApp so you could check any of those out. And then once you post yours, I'd love for you to screenshot or send whatever you create and come up with. So send it once you post it on your story, send a screenshot. So, or like send it over, download it and send it. So that way, maybe we'll use yours in the future, or, I could use yours as an example, or also just shows proof that you did it too. Any questions on the post at all or putting it up? Pretty simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to review some expectations for the position as an SMRA. So you might want to take some notes on these, you just so you have them, for yourself, just so we're on the same page. So as far as social media recruiting assistant expectations, number one, there's really two, but number one is a good attitude. And under the umbrella of attitude is positive energy and expectancy. When I talk about, and I'm going to expand on each of these just a little bit, but positive energy, positive attitude, expectancy, it's just like going into it with the right attitude. As you go into social media, it's like, I'm going in there to help people. Like, that's it. Like, that's our attitude. I'm going there to help people. I'm just spreading the word. I'm helping them. I'm helping the company. I'm helping students. And the more you can go into the role with that attitude and that expectation, the better you're going to do in that role. So that's number one, is positive attitude, positive expectation. Number two is strong work ethic. And what I mean by that is just being present. We know in the Zoom environment right now, it is very challenging to stay engaged and stay focused, especially if your job is social media. I mean, my goodness, know how I get sucked in that vortex all the time where it's just like scrolling and all that stuff. Like, you got to be present, because if you're paid by your time that you're supposed to be working on social media, if you ever catch yourself scrolling or checking out people's profiles or like getting caught in that vortex, just know you're technically getting paid to not work. I don't know about you, but if you were the boss and you were paying someone for their time and they were getting paid to do work that they weren't actually doing, how would that make you feel, right? So you obviously we have a lot of flexibility, we have a lot of trust until it's broken. Okay, we have a lot of trust, a lot of flexibility until it's broken, but we have that expectation that you're going to be present, that when you're on the clock, you're on the clock and you're being present. You're not like, you know, clocking in and then go grab lunch. You're going to grab lunch and then clock in and then do your work, right? Because we're giving you a lot of flexibility and working from home and everything. The next one underneath that is being a team player. And what I mean by a team player is help each other out, support each other. That WhatsApp chat that you're in, you'll see like best practices or spotlighting people of the week or bonuses. Wait till you hear the bonus structure that I'll tell you about after. The bonuses are so sick. Okay, you're going to hear about these bonuses. You might need to run out to your car and grab the seatbelt out of your car, strap yourself into your chair so you don't fall out of your chair when I tell you about the bonus structure. Okay, so the bonuses are so sick. So when we recognize the bonuses and whatnot, be a team player, be supportive, help each other out, congratulate, celebrate, seek best practices. So really be a great team player for each other. And that kind of ties into open to feedback and growth oriented. When you see someone having bonuses and doing well and achieving, be open to like getting better and be open to growth oriented and improvement for your role if you're not quite getting the results that you want. And the last one under attitude is high communication. I'm going to review here in just a moment how to use WhatsApp, how to clock in, how to clock out, how to send your screen recording. I'm going to show you how to update your stats and your spreadsheet. So when we review that, you want to make sure that you're really buttoned up. And that's why we have training. We're going to show you how to do all this here in just a moment. Under the umbrella of performance, these are the expectations for when you clock in for a shift and when you're working. You generally want to show up about 5 minutes early to Zoom. If you want to show up a little bit earlier, like Izzy today, 20 minutes, love it. By all means, but at least 5 minutes, be ready. So you're set up to start exactly at that time. You want to use WhatsApp to clock in and clock out. I'm going to show you how to do that. Then I also want you to follow our approaches and our guidelines. See, I sometimes have SMRAs that say, well, I know what my friends want. I get that. I get that. And I'm open to that. But I also know what's been tested tens of thousands of times to get the best results. So we're going to use what we know works. Now, if you do want to do a test, talk to your manager, myself, or your coach and say, hey, would you mind if I adjust the approach a smidge and test it for this, for this group of people or whatever? That's fine, but communicate with us first if you're going to change anything. Don't just change stuff, because we keep data on everything and we want to make sure that you're using the approaches that we're giving you, because that's what we know is working. But we're open. We're 100% open to your creativity, to what you see and what you're exposed to. But we've tested tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of times to figure out what are the best approaches, and that's what we're using right now. The screen recording is for proof at the end of every shift. People, people might say, well, how do you know I actually did my work? Well, yes, there's the honor system. Yes, there's the trust, but there's also a screen recording. I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. It's really simple. And we barely look at them, but I'll show you what it looks like. And as far as social media, the typical results and responses that you'll get as far as performance goes, for every 100 messages that you'll send outgoing, you'll typically get maybe about 15 to 20% response. And from those, you'll typically get about a 30 to 50% phone numbers of people that are interested, something along those lines. So it just kind of gives you a benchmark. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. Also, I'll show you how to track your messages, your responses, and everything on the Google Sheet. And again, of course, no personal social media usage during shifts. So I'm going to go through each of these right now. Feel free, if you have any questions, you could hit me up in the chat box, or you could write them down. And then when I come up for some air, I'll debrief and answer any questions you might have. Okay. So first, as far as clock in and clock out and the proof. So every shift, every time you do a shift, and I'll be sharing these templates with you on WhatsApp as we go. So when you clock in for your shift with your goals. So you set a goal. And what I mean by setting a goal is you say, okay, between my Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook messages, how many do I think I'll be able to send in the shift that I have? So say you have a 2-hour shift. Well, you would say in 2 hours, maybe I'll shoot to send, maybe I could send 50 messages an hour. I mean, I'm going to shoot to send 100 messages. All right, boom. On Snapchat, it's quick. Snapchat is click, 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 click. You probably know that, right? It's just like click, click, click. You could send 200 messages in 5 minutes, right? Or not even 5 minutes, right? On Instagram, it's a little bit more tedious because you got to copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So maybe it's a little different. Same thing with Facebook. So you just set a goal of like, what's your intentionality for that shift that you're about to work, as far as the mass messaging and the advertising. And then you expect, okay, how many responses am I expecting? How many responses am I expecting on this shift? So you just set it your intentions. You're setting your intentions. So usually it's about a 15 to 20% response, depending on what source you're using. So you set a goal. And then how many new phone numbers are you looking to get from that shift? Now, here's ladies and SMRAs. Here's what I want to explain to you. The number one goal and outcome of your shift is to get as many phone numbers as possible, so that way we can, as managers, call them to give them more information about the position to see if it makes sense for us to set them up for an interview. So think about your job as the marketing and the advertising to get the phone numbers. And then our job is to call those people, give them the information, and send them up for an interview. So your job, create the interest. Our job, give them information, and then set them up if it seems like it could be a good fit. So that might be noteworthy, mental, physical, whatever, but your job, create the interest, do the advertising, get it out there, get the phone number. Once you create the interest, get the phone number, create the interest, get the phone number, and then we will give them the information. So your job is not necessarily to give the information. Your job is to create the interest. Once you create the interest, then we'll give them the information. And then after they get the information, we could see if it makes sense for us to set them up for an interview. Okay, so that's really important. So think about your shift as, I'm doing a lot of advertising to get as much interest and as many phone numbers as possible. At the end of the shift, you'll say, cool, this is how many hours I worked. And then there'll be 3 different stats that you're going to create for your shift. Number 1 is total personal phone numbers. You might say, well, Mike, what's a personal phone number? What's the difference between a personal phone number and a new phone number created for messages? A personal phone number is someone that you are personally connected to, like your personal network, like it's from your cell phone. Say as you're doing your messages and like you're just copy pasting and going through, and it's like, oh shoot, this was like my sister and your sister or your brother or something like that. That would be like a personal contact versus like a random message on social media. So we track both of those 2 numbers because personal contacts, it kind of skews the data. We really want to know how many phone numbers you're getting from the responses from your social media marketing versus how many phone numbers you're getting from like your own personal networks. Say you do Snapchat blitz, you message all these people, and like one of your close friends responds like, yeah, hit me up. I'd like some more information. Cool. You already have their phone number. So you didn't have to get the phone number from the message. You already had it in your phone. That would be a personal contact versus like a random follower on Snapchat. You don't have their phone number. It's like, cool, give me your phone number. I'll have a manager reach out to you. That would be a phone number from a message. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but we'd like to be as accurate as possible to decipher between those two different phone numbers. How did you create the phone numbers? Was it from your own personal network, like your own cell phone already, or was it from the messages that you sent? So then you track your messages sent, your total responses, and your total phone numbers that you got. And then you put that in the WhatsApp at the end of your shift. So it will look something like this. Um, so at the end, or I'll show you. So it looks something like, actually, I don't have any way to show you, but you'll see, you'll get in this flow of things. It's really simple. You just clock out at the end of the shift. What you also do is so you clock in with this, you clock out with that, and then you send your proof. Your proof looks something like this we have a separate WhatsApp chat called send message proof that we're going to add you to. And all you do is just send a screen recording. See right here, I haven't even checked any of these. All right. So I have no idea what I'm barely looking at these ever. It's just in case, but it looks like this. You just take a screen recording of your activity of that, what you did. You just send a screen recording to that WhatsApp chat. And it's just a screen recording of your activity. We barely look at it, but if we did have some sort of suspicion that maybe an SMRA was like saying that they worked, but they actually didn't, or oh yeah, I sent 200 messages. And then we check their screen, like it's just like, but you didn't get any response. You sent 200 messages, you didn't get responses. Then we'll go to the screen recording and I'll have one of my assistants count up and it'll be like, actually, you sent out 20. You said you sent up 200, but you only sent up 20 on the screen recording. What happened? We barely ever have to do that, but it's just in case. It's just in case. So that's why we want you to make sure, that you're following that guideline. Real simple stuff. Clock in, clock out, and send your social proof. Any questions on that? Just that clock in, clock out, or sending the social proof? Cool. So we're all good then. So let's go ahead and now I want to show you how we keep track of those stats for your pay and also where you put those phone numbers as you get them. Okay. So that's what we're going to transition into. So in the WhatsApp group, in the WhatsApp chat, I'm going to post it again, but I sent it earlier. There's a link for your training documents. Okay. So I just sent it into the chat and I'll share my screen here. So I'll go into the chat, I'll click the documents. Okay, so in the document, you can pull this up on your computer too. That's why you wanted to download web.whatsapp on your computer beforehand. So that way you could pull up WhatsApp. If you didn't do that yet, it's okay. You could do that later, but you're always gonna wanna have it. It's gonna make things easier for you. So what we're gonna go to here is we're gonna go to social media marketing. And we're going to click on winter break. And on winter break, you have two different spreadsheets that are on here. You have your pay and stat tracking, and then you have your phone number spreadsheet. Let's go ahead and go to pay and stat tracking. And again, if you want to follow along with me, you can follow along with me, or you could just look at me, look at the screen, either way. Okay, so this is a weekly overview. This is how we keep track of all your stats. So please, 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 it is a real-time spreadsheet. So only go into the spreadsheet and put your information in here. Okay. You don't want to mess it. You don't like want to type in too much or like be very deep, like very attention to detail here because it's real time for everybody else. So I'm going to create these spreadsheets right now. This is the sample. So I'll explain it and then I'll create one for each of you. So this is your first cycle. So right now your cycle goes from Thursday through Wednesday, but since we're starting on a Saturday and we're doing training, it's going to be a little bit of an extended cycle because it's unique with the winter break and exams and whatnot. But this is your first pay cycle. Okay. So this is your first pay cycle. And what you do at the end of every shift, so when you take these stats that you're putting into WhatsApp, you're taking these numbers and you're putting them onto this spreadsheet. So each of you will have your own spreadsheet. So I'll actually duplicate this right now and I'll create one for Izzy. So this is Izzy's spreadsheet. Izzy Levy. So Izzy Levy has her spreadsheet. So Izzy Levy has a spreadsheet now. So Izzy is going to take her SMRA name every single time. She's going to put her name here. And the reason why she's going to put her name here, Izzy Levy, the reason why she's going to do that is because on the weekly overview right here, this is going to, like, our virtual assistant will take this right here. Whoops. And I'll just drag this down just so it looks like this. And instead of sample, actually, I'm just going to type it. This is why I have my SMRA do it. It's going to be equals Izzy Levy and then exclamation point. Okay. And then it is C14, exclamation point, C14. Maybe it can't be a space. Yeah. So I got to make sure that the name doesn't have a space in it. Maybe I might have messed something up. Let's see. So, it's C2 rather. That's why. So C2, let's see. C2, Izzy Levy. Let's just try Izzy. Again, not very important, but this is why we do this. Izzy, exclamation point, C2. There we go. So what this does is everything you put on your sheet here automatically updates on the overview here. So say if Izzy, let's say you got, 22 personal numbers, you sent out 100 messages, you got 42 responses. From those responses, you got 15 phone numbers. And let's say you worked for a 3-hour shift, let's say. Okay. On that's the weekly overview. See how right here, just drag this over like so. And it automatically updates on this for us. So that way I can see all of my SMRAs at one glance. So your job is to only update your sheet. So you're taking the data that you put on a WhatsApp and putting it onto your spreadsheet every day. So you take these numbers that we just went over and you put them onto your spreadsheet each day. Are there any questions on just that so far? So I'm going to create these other sheets right now for each of you in case any of you have any questions. So we'll go Mia and then Ashley.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So in terms of like who we message, so can we message, because I know it's geared towards like college students.
I'll explain all of that. I promise you. Like as far as who you're messaging, I'm going to explain all that, but I'm just going step by step right now. So, but are there any questions specifically on the spreadsheet or on the recap of the shift or on the social proof on clock in, clock out and the proof? Are there any questions on any of that so far? Do you have a question, Izzy?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the clock in is the goals for the shift. So I should probably call that a clock in. So goals for the shift, this is also known as clock in. Recap of the shift, that's known as a clock out. And then the proof is where you send to the chat. Now, these pay and stats right here. So the paid hours, that's going to where you're going to get paid, right? So your hours are going to be here. And then my virtual assistant and myself, we take your total pay, your weekly bonus. And then obviously we have like the FICA and the federal taxes and all that stuff. We're going to send you these forms will probably be sent to you sometime today. It'll be sent to your email. You'll fill out the information for those forms for you to, W-4 and an I-9 and all that stuff. And then you just fill that out. And then the pay cycle itself. And then also you'll put your Venmo on here every week too, because why? Because then that shows up here for us. So that way we can easily just at one glance, boom, take everyone's pay, take everyone in Venmo. As of right now, I'm doing Venmo because our payroll system is set up to only paid bi-weekly, and I'm paying you weekly. So until I can get it set up where it could be weekly set up, and they also charge me a fee every time I use it. So I haven't figured it out just yet. So as of right now, at this moment of this recording and where we're at, I'm doing Venmo, and then I'll just send it to you. You usually will get it before Saturday is over. So the weekly cycle itself, as you could see over here, the weekly cycle is usually Thursday through Wednesday. And then we will take all this data and we'll go through it on Thursday, Friday. We got to go through the bonuses, how many of your friends got hired and all that stuff. And that way by Saturday, you'll usually get that check. So for this cycle that we're in right now, because we're starting, it's a unique week, you will get your first check for right now for this training class. You'll get it on probably like maybe that somewhere between Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, the 17th, 18th, 19th, something like that for all of these days. And then after that, after the weekly recap, that's when we do the pay. We just got to have enough time to go through all the data and make sure the bonuses are done the right way. Okay. So that's the pay and the stats. Now, as you collect these phone numbers, what are you doing with all of them? That's what this other sheet is. So if you go back to the winter break folder, there's SMRA numbers. So as you're collecting numbers, that's where you have your own spreadsheet here as well. Okay. So again, I'll take the sample and I'll duplicate it and I'll make you your own sheet. So we have for this one, again, we'll do Izzy. And then, by the way, you can, while I'm creating this on your sheet, Izzy and Mia and Ashley, the names, high school and college, you could fill those out right there on your sheet as I create it. Just because as there's lots of SMRAs, I like to know which networks each SMRA is working with. So we'll go through, create these, and Ashley. I'm going to put Ashley last name B just because it's a common name. Okay. So as you'll see, every time you get responses, these are from your responses. This is Sydney. Sydney Gilman. She goes to University of Tampa Criminology. So you could see she just started with us, a couple weeks back. But every time you get a response, you put in their handle. So like here on the sample, on Instagram, let's say, or on Snapchat. I guess we really don't need their handle on Snapchat, but on Instagram specifically, you put their handle, then you get their name and their phone number, because when they responded to you, they gave you their phone number and any notes that you feel is relevant. So anytime you get a response from your advertising that you put out there, and being a brand ambassador, you'll put that on this spreadsheet. This is where your manager is going to take them and call them. Okay. So highlighted in yellow means they got set up for an interview. Highlighted in red means they're not in our area, or they're not qualified for the position, meaning they're either not of age or they're not in the area or something like that. Bolded means that they didn't pick up the phone or we texted them. So we use this. So what's going to happen is a part of your rotation that you will get into at some point, we'll talk about, is where we'll train you on how to call people and set them up for interviews. And that gives you more hours. There's also gives you a little bit of a bump in pay when you learn how to do that. We'll talk about that. That's part of the rotation. But for right now, in this position specifically, as I mentioned, your job, create the interest, get us phone numbers, create the interest, get us phone numbers. So that way we can give them information and set them up for interviews if it's a good fit. So for each of you right now, perfect. Izzy, already on top of it. Awesome. So Mia and Ashley, if you can update that as well, that'd be awesome. If you are able to access that sheet and see it. So what's going to happen is as you enter all of this in, what's cool is it does the counting for you. So see, it counts up your responses. So, it counts up your total numbers that you're getting. When it comes to the bonuses that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, you're going to want to get as many of those as possible because I'm telling you, the bonus is so sick. Okay. So just to recap what we just went over. So we're on the same page here. And let me share my screen, and then we'll do some light bulbs and debrief just to see what's showing up. So just to recap what we went through so far. You clock in with your goals on WhatsApp. You clock out on WhatsApp with your recap of your shift. You take these numbers and you put them on the stat sheet. That's how you get paid. You get $11 an hour, okay, for any of the hours that you work, just doing the messaging and doing what we're talking about right here. But again, the bonuses are so sick. Wait till you see them. Then you send your proof to the chat, and that's how you clock in, clock out, and do your proof. So this is what the process looks like to start a shift in summary. And this, you could take a screenshot of this if you want, or I'll post this in WhatsApp. So you start the shift by doing what you just did. We call it a triple threat post. I'll probably change that to make more sense. Post brand ambassador post. So brand ambassador post. And you clock in with your goals for the shift. So you start every shift by posting something up on social media. Why do you do that? Because here's what's going to happen. As you send messages, on social media, they're going to do two things. Number one, they're going to make sure you didn't get hacked. So they want to know you're actually like a human being, not a robot. So, and you might probably, you understand what I'm talking about. So they're going to check your profile out. When they check your profile out, they're going to look at two things. They're going to look at number one, at your story. Are you active right now? So you're going to look at your story to see what conversations you're having with your community. So that's why you put the brand ambassador post, because the conversation you're having with your community right now is, I'm advertising a job. So that's why you always want to put a story post before you start a shift, or right when you start a shift. The second thing they're going to do is they'll look at your bio. And when they look at your bio, they're going to see, like, who are you? Are you legit? One of the things that every one of our people that are a social media recruiting assistant, I'm not going to mandate it right away, but I highly, highly recommend it because it's going to get you the best results, is putting at Bay Area Game Changers in your bio, because you're tagging us. And that way it also like if someone sees it and they don't know you very well, or they're not connected to you, they're just a follower, they'll see you're also connected to us as a brand ambassador. So I'm not going to mandate it right away, like right in your first day of training, but at some point you will see it will get you the absolute best results when you put at Bay Area Game Changers in your bio. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on in training, but that's essentially what someone's going to do. So when you send the message, that's why you want to put the brand ambassador post up to start your shift. Then you clock them your goals. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pull up the document with all of the approaches and responses. So let's go ahead. I'll pull that up with you. So you pull up that document with the approaches and your responses. You might say, what is that? That is the message that you're going to be using. So going back to this folder here, click messaging and FAQs, frequently asked questions. This is the message that we know works really well. Remember I said there's a message that works really well? So for your friends, these are your followers, people in your network, to answer what Ashley was asking before. This is the message that you're going to want to use, okay? And it's like, hey, name. Hope all is well. Sorry if this is super random, but I work for a local business in Tampa, and we have openings for positions where you can work from home. Figured I'd reach out to let you know about the opportunities since we work with a lot of people from USF. The starting pay is $15, and my manager's looking to fill positions right away. Would you be available for me to tell you more about the position, and or do you know anyone who might be interested? Thank you. So this would be people that you know well. Real simple stuff. So you're essentially going to take this message and you're going to change the name every time. And you paste it, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send. That's what you'll use for Instagram. For Snapchat, you just take an abridged version of this and it's like click, 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 click. This is what you would use for Instagram or Facebook to your own friends or your own followers. If eventually you get to like random accounts, like, you know, people that are not following you, then we have a separate message for those people. Now we obviously start here because when I tell you about the bonus, you're going to want to get as many phone numbers as fast as possible, because when I tell you about the bonus structure, you're going to freak the heck out. No hype. Like I know I'm hyping it up a little bit, but like it's really a good bonus structure. Okay. It's a really good bonus structure. So something to think about. All right. That's the message. If they ask you any questions, like, yeah, I'm interested. Cool. I'll have my manager give you more details and see if you'd be a good fit. It's just easier to type in a full paragraph. What's your phone number? Because remember, our mission, what do? We create the interest, get the phone number. Create the interest, get the phone number. That's all you want to do. It's so simple. Your copy, paste, type, copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send. All right. So I think I'm beating this up a little bit. So I think you're getting it. All right. So let's go back here. So what do? We pull up. So what do we do to start our shift? We set up our post. We clock in. We pull up the document with the approaches. Then if you've already sent out messages or have any messages and responses waiting for you, you'll handle those responses and update the spreadsheet with those phone numbers. Why do you want to update your spreadsheet with any phone numbers from your past shift? So that way your manager can start booking up your friends for interviews. So that way you can work towards your bonus. Because if they're sitting your Instagram, we don't know about them. You want to update this so that way your managers can start setting them up for interviews or reaching out to them or texting them and connecting with them. So that's why you're going to update this as soon as possible so your manager can get them. So you handle the responses and update the spreadsheet with phone numbers, and then you begin messaging on Instagram. Always start there, because that's partially why you were selected, is because you have a pretty good presence on Instagram. So you want to start there. Then if you still have time on your shift, or, you know, you want to do some Snap or Facebook, perfect. You should be able to get about 30 to 50 or more messages sent per hour, just depending on how fast. I tested this. I'm an old dude. I'm not very savvy on this stuff. And I was able to get 80 messages sent an hour. All I did, it was copy paste. Like I will show you right now, like how I was able to do it so fast. Okay. So if you could kind of see my phone here. Let me make it brighter so you could, oh, that's too bright. All right, cool. So this is how Mike Abramowitz is able to do this. And you might be like, Mike, you're going to show me something on Instagram. Are you kidding me? Come on. You might be right, but ready? So let's say I have the message already copy pasted. All right. I'm just going to, I'll pick out a message from, I don't know. Let's just type in, I'll type something. I'll type something. So watch how fast this is. I go to my account right here. I click on my followers. So I go to my followers, and right here. So the first person that pops up, I click message, and then I type in, actually, let me actually get the message. So that way this is accurate for all of us. And that way I'm not just wasting the time. So I'll just use this message right here. It's already there. So now I have it copy and pasted. Ready? If you had to time me, I'm fast. I'm freaking fast, like lightning fast. All right. So click followers. Here's all my followers. Boom. Click, copy, message, boom. Copy, paste, change name, Shani, send. Boom, go back. Izzy, message, boom. Izzy, bam. Next, go back. Next one, message. I don't know if you're still seeing this or not, but do you see how fast this is? It's like send, copy, paste, change the name. And then sometimes it's like, it's Cecilia, oh, Cecilia, right? Cecilia. So if the name you can't even make it out, then no big deal. Just don't type in their name. But don't type in their handle, because then it's definitely looks spammy, right? But you do want to put their name, if their name is there, back. So do you see how fast it is? It is like quick. There is no thinking. There's no strategy when I do it. When I do it, I don't care. I'm just copy paste message, copy paste. I want to get the advertising out, right? I want to create the interest. And that's how I can send like 80 in an hour. I could probably, if I just kept going with that, I could have probably sent maybe 10 to 15 in a minute. So in a minute, so in an hour, I could send a couple hundred with that process. But I'm not going to mandate you do that, because you might want to, like, you know, how do I know this person? Or I don't know, you might want to dilly dally, but I'm not a dilly dallyer. I'm like, let me get these outcomes. Let me get these outcomes because of the bonus structure I'm going to tell you about. Okay. See, the $11 an hour, that's cool. You could copy paste and send for $11 an hour, but the bonus is where you're going to make your money. The bonuses are where you're going to make your money working in your role as an SMRA. Okay. And that's why you want to work fast, because the more you get out, the more you get back, the more we're going to be able to, I'll show you what that looks like. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. But and if not, we'll debrief in a moment. And then you handle any same day responses. So so what I do, I mass message. I will send out like 50, 100 in a row, and then I'll go back and handle the responses. So you don't want to handle the responses as you get them. I know for some of you are gonna be like, Mike, I cannot leave someone unread. Okay, I cannot leave them unread. I get it, but please trust me. You get in the rhythm of the mass messaging, and then so mass message for like 30 minutes, then do responses for 30 minutes, and then mass message for 30 minutes, and then do the response. That's what's going to get you the best results and get momentum, and that's partially why I'm able to get so many out versus maybe somebody else. So that's what you do to start the shift. So that's like your shift. And then as you get the phone numbers, update the spreadsheet so your manager can book them up for interviews. So let me come up for some air for just a moment. Any questions on or comments on any of that as far as like starting a shift and going into the shift, any of that of anything I just covered so far? So the question is, can I personalize the message if it's someone I know? The challenge with that is two things. Number one, it takes time. It takes extra time to do. And number two, it could potentially skew the data that we're trying to do. So if you're going to personalize or change some stuff up, just make sure you're communicating with your manager. Make sure you're communicating with your coach to let them know, like, hey, I'm going to test some other stuff, because you know your friends better than we do, but we know the position better than you do. So it's kind of like there's that balance there where we know what's going to get really good results on the macro scale. And I know you might want to be intentional with the micro scale. So just work with your manager on that. We're totally open to it, because bottom line is we're both after the same thing, and that's results. We want to get results, and we know that the messages that we've already come up with get results. So we might as well just use what works, but we're totally open to that. So I'm glad you asked that. It's a great question.
Okay.
Cool. So under that umbrella, so again, we give you a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom, but there's also some micromanagement that we're doing there too. So to end the shift, what you're going to want to do now, you might say, well, Mike, how do I count up easily how many messages I just sent out? How do I do this? So what you're going to want to do now, I don't mandate this, but I heavily suggest it so it's easier to count. You're going to move your primary to your general. So on your Instagram, there's no, you don't have to do this, but this is what I suggest. Now, in order to do it, you need to have a business account. So you set up your Instagram to be a business, I believe is what you have to do in order to be able to have the two mailboxes. So see, there's a primary and there's a general. Okay. By the way, that Shani just responded, so I get a response. Oh, look at that. Good thing, right? So, all right. Why is this so? There we go. That's better. Okay. So primary and then general. So what you do is you swipe whoops. So on the primary, you swipe left and it will pop up. Yeah, it it wants to say bright. So it pops up as, it's super annoying. It keeps like adjusting itself. So when you swipe, it gives you the option for general. So if you swipe, it gives you the option for general. So that way, if you put all of your messages you sent in general, it'll keep you organized. It'll keep you organized with your with your outgoing messages. So that way, this is why. Ready? When you're not working here, you might not want your Instagram inbox blowing up with responses, because then you're going to be working, quote unquote, working all the time. Now, if you want to, that's totally up to you, but we're only paying you for your shift, the $11 an hour, right? But if you're hungry for the bonuses, by all means, work all the time. But for your shifts, we're only going to pay you the $11 an hour for your shifts that and I'll walk through that schedule with you today. So why is this important, in my opinion, is so that way, when you start your shift, all you need to do is go to your general and you will see all the responses that came in, and that's where you could start your shift. So if you stay organized with this and you end the shift by moving primary to general, count your total. So that way, when you start your next shift, boom, you handle the responses because they're easily to find in the general, and you don't have to go through your personal ones to decipher, was this a personal convo or was this a business convo? So you're able to kind of decipher between the two. So that's why at the end of the shift, you'll do that. And then you post the recap into the WhatsApp chat. You send the screen recording to the WhatsApp proof chat. You post your stats to the pay tracker. And then at the very end of your shift, you send a voice memo to your manager, just debriefing your shift. How did it go? How'd you feel? 30 seconds, just saying, hey, I felt pretty good. I got this many numbers today. I felt like it was a pretty productive shift, or I got stuck with this. This is what happened. That way you can have an ongoing conversation with your manager, which would be Mason or Rochelle or Jess, whoever your manager is. Any questions on any of that, primary to general, or the start to shift, the end to shift, any of that? So the question is what if I get responses after my shift? So I just submitted my response. I just submitted my clock out. I just updated my stats. I already said I'm done for the night. And then all of a sudden I got 50 responses overnight. What do? Those go on to your next shift. So your next shift, that's why your goals for that next shift, you're like, I already have baked in the cake on this shift. I already have 15 responses waiting for me. So I got 15 plus whatever I'm about to go create today. And then now we'll go on to your next shift. And again, I'm not mandating you not working when it's not your shift. Like, say you're working a 3 to 6 shift. Say I have you on the schedule from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and it's like 11 o'clock at night and you're chilling, watching Netflix and hanging out. And you're like, I wonder if I have new responses. And you go and check it out and you're like, holy shit, I got like 15 people waiting for me. Right. And you're like, I'm just going to respond now. I'm going to get their phone numbers. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. I'm just going to tell you I'm not going to pay $11 an hour to do that. Because if you have the next shift the next day, just wait till 5 p.m. the next day or 3 p.m. the next day to do, or wait till the next shift. You might say, but Mike, I don't want to leave them unread that long. Hey, I get it. But I only pay you for certain blocks of time for the shifts. But if you want to do it, that's why I give you a really awesome bonus to incentivize you to maybe do it on your own time if you wanted to. So just to tie a bow on that last segment before we can go to the importance of the role, is you clock in, you clock out, everything is on WhatsApp, everything's on those spreadsheets, and you send the proof at the end, and then you just debrief with your manager at the end of the shift. And if you have any questions as you go through it, it's not the end of the world. Always just ask. Always ask. Post up in WhatsApp, post up to your coaching chat with your manager. We're here to support you. And we're also here to make sure you have a great experience here too. So what we're going to do is we're going to transition into the next section.